Hi folks, it's Zach and welcome back to my starting at level 60 series, and today we're looking at the Jedi Sage. Now I actually made one video already for this and I made a couple goof ups, so I'm actually redoing that video with this guy here. So a few of the changes that you normally see me do, they're already done. Those are things like changing my HUD, rearranging my hotbar, changing out utilities, etc, etc, etc. So yay! This is not the starting outfit you get as a Jedi Sage, by the way. This is an outfit that I've put together from two different cartel market sets, and I just threw those on because I really didn't like the standard robes, by the way. I'll show you what those look like really fast so you can kind of see. Welcome to the curse of the light armor wearing characters. If you are a Sage and you wear light armor, most of your gear looks like this. Robes, and more robes. So if this is your very first level 60 character and you chose to do a Sage, I'm sorry. But here's the good news. There's a lot of gear you can buy in the game that can make your character look pretty much however you want. I highly recommend diving into that and also using these outfit designer tabs too. Right now, this character does not have any cash. I'm actually also not taking this character anywhere either, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop on gear that I like the look of for right now, and we'll just call that a day with that. There we go. Okay, so now he looks cool. That looks more like the Sage I'd like to play, right? Where I'm like, hey, that looks kind of like light armor-ish. It's mostly, you know, cloth with some metal pieces on it. For me, I'm down for that. That to me looks like a Sage should look. Okay, he looks like a battle Sage. Alright, now let's talk about some moves here. So I'm trying to keep these videos under 15 minutes. I did not succeed on the Mando one. I'm going to try to succeed with that here. So if you're curious about the DPS rotations after you've seen this video, there's some great information on Dilfy.net. Plus, you can just type in Sage 4.0 DPS rotation, and whole videos will pop up to show guys who are showing off what they do. So that's any class or anything. I'm really just focusing on helping you get the right moves on your hotbar, so you can kind of get started with playing around with the good stuff and not having to, you know, work that tutorial mode. All right. So first up, I got Weakened Mind. You're going to notice that Saber Strike, the basic attack, is not even on a hotbar this time. So, like what you saw with Hammer Shot as a Mando, you don't need it. This particular branch, Telekinetics for the Jedi Sage, is so energy efficient, you're just almost never going to run out of force. I mean, never. It takes an incredible amount of effort to run out of force in this spec. And I mean, you really got to be trying. So with that being said, let's talk about some of these utilities. Or excuse me, let's talk about some of these moves. So I have Weakened Mind up first. Weakened Mind throws out a dot on your target. Doesn't really do a whole lot of damage, but it sets up Turbulence to automatically crit. Turbulence is kind of the core part of your TK rotation. You're going to want to use it every single time that it's up, and you're going to want to make sure you use it on a target that has Weakened Mind on it. As many times as you can get it out per minute, you're going to see your DPS increase, okay? Next up, I have TK Burst. TK Burst doesn't hit very hard, but there's a few moves that make it proc and become instant, and it hits a little bit harder than some of your weaker channels, so it is kind of useful to have up there. I have it on my 3 key, so that way I can instantly use it. Plus, you get 2 free versions of it when you hit 4 speed. I believe, I can't remember if you have to, you know, get a utility for that. Let me actually just check. Nope, don't need a utility for it. Okay, it's just there. So if you ever have to pop 4 speed, you can pop 2 free instant cast telekinetic bursts with that. Next up, Telekinetic Wave. This is an AoE, hits up to 8 targets, but it's also instant cast from other procs, as you can see here. So I just cast Force Quake, and now you can see that Telekinetic Wave is ready to rock and roll. So if there's a target out there, bam, it's ready to roll. Now, the other cool thing is it also, I believe, procs from Turbulence. So, as you're doing your single target channel, you may see that proc, and I say go ahead and hit it. Hits really hard. You're not losing anything from it when it's insta-cast. Yay. Just do it. Next up on 5 is Telekinetic Gust. Telekinetic Gust hits pretty decently, about as much as a little bit more than Telekinetic Burst, and it also reduces the cooldown, or excuse me, the channel time of Mind Crush. Okay, Mind Crush is a dot. It actually does a pretty significant amount of damage. Not wow, knock my socks off damage, but it helps. It definitely adds to the whole damage that you're doing to your target, okay? A lot of times I'll start off a battle by casting Mind Crush on a particularly stubborn single target, and then through my rotations I'll eventually hit Telekinetic Gust and then a faster cast Mind Crush. 7 is Project. I have Project here. You guys can choose to do whatever you want with that. It's by no means on anybody's radar, I think, for a main part of this rotation, but it's instant cast. It's on a 6-second cooldown, which means it comes up ridiculously quick, and you can use it while you're on the move. For me, that makes it very, very handy to help keep my character mobile. Choose to use it, choose to not use it, but I like having it somewhere because of those different benefits. Low cooldown, fast cast. Next up, I have my very first stun, Force Stun. Stuns a guy for 4 seconds. Useful, especially on guys who like to channel things at you, bad Force users, stuff like that. Also have Force Wave. Force Wave is a physics knockback, okay? You can also talent it to heal things too, but I feel like that's kind of a waste of a utility point. Very situational, up to you. One key thing to note about Force Wave is, unlike the original design from the beta and the original vanilla game, they changed that eventually, so now it is just strictly in a conal AoE in front. That does mean, unlike the Commando, who can do a 360 with his charge that detonates, you do have to have a directional facing towards whatever it is you're trying to knock back. Okay, so just kind of be aware of that as you're using it. Sorry, still getting over my bronchitis. That's why I haven't done these videos in such a long time, guys. Sorry. Anyway, Force Mend. This is a single target instant cast heal on just yourself. Does a pretty good chunk of healing, and I kind of think of this as one of the very few defensives that you get as a Jedi Sage. So I actually kind of keep that up here on the hotbar instead of over here on the right-hand sidebar like I did for my Mando. Next up, I have Mental Alacrity. Mental Alacrity is a key DPS buff. Gives you 20% alacrity, which basically you're going to pop that and then you're going to rip through your keys here of just channeling like a madman, okay? Only lasts for 15 seconds, but it's a very good 15 seconds where you can't be pushed back or interrupted. Last up, I have Force of Will, my CC breaker. On the second hotbar, I have Mind Snap. Obviously, that's your key interrupts for a lot of bad guys. I have an open spot here. Put anything there you like. For me, I just leave that open. Sometimes I'll put telekinetic, what's it called? It's the Pebble move, Telekinetic Wave or whatever they call it now. Forcequake. Forcequake is your main channeled AoE. This sucker is badass. Honestly, you can also take a talent over here that gives a 25% boost in damage. It is, if you look up here, costs very little to be using outside of combat. Inside of combat, it's a little expensive, but not too bad. It doesn't do as much damage as a sweeping gunfire from a gunslinger. However, it costs a lot less energy than it does for a gunslinger to keep that up. So keep that in mind. Also, again, using Forcequake can give you that instant cast proc on Telekinetic Wave, which is very handy. Since Telekinetic Wave can hit up to 8 targets, using a Forcequake on a bunch of bad guys and then pow, hitting Telekinetic Wave while it's procced, gives you an astounding amount of damage on a bunch of weak opponents. Next up, I have Force Barrier. Force Barrier is a key defensive buff. It's the best one in the game, in my opinion. When you pop that, you are invincible to pretty much everything coming at you. It also heals you up for a little bit. It doesn't last very long, but man, this sucker rocks. It's the difference between life and death on something that can wipe out an entire raid. So just kind of keep that in mind, guys. Make sure you read all the fine print, but boy howdy, you want that somewhere. Next up, I have Force Potency. Force Potency adds some extra damage to some of my moves. Vindicate gives me some force back if I'm ever in a pinch. Definitely something that you won't necessarily see in this spec, but you may see in Balance spec. Balance spec sometimes can be a little tricky with the energy management, so having Vindicate around kind of helps. Force Speed. This is a locomotion buff, as you can see here. Okay, makes you go faster. Also gives you 2 free telekinetic bursts. Not too shabby for this spec. That means you can be mobile, escape out of something, and keep your DPS up by popping telekinetic burst. Force Lift is a CC. This is one that you may use in a raid or situationally for yourself, depends. But it's good enough to have on a hotbar somewhere. Next up is Force Armor. This is a very nice buff for yourself. I have it currently talented to give me health, but That's not the automatic way this was set up. Automatically, what they're giving you is force mobility, which, if you're new to this game, I'm going to leave this up into your hands. The cool thing about taking this utility is that you can pop force armor on yourself and just basically keep it up all the time and give yourself a health regen. If you're new to playing this game and you're not really comfortable yet with all the DPS moves, you may want to take this instead of the other one, okay? This will just let you kind of keep your health up and take reduced damage. However, if you're doing pretty good, you're not feeling like you're taking lots of damage, I would immediately switch it back then. Once you get your last and final utility point, you get that at level 65, I would definitely take both. But this one here, Force Mobility, lets you cast Turbulence, your main damage dealer, on the run. That is very good. I leave it up to you guys on which one you want to take right out of the gate, but I'll tell you both are there, and both are there for you. Last but not least, I have my energy regen move, and then over here I have some healing moves. Normally I have a heal bar. When I tap H, I have my heal move set up here. For right now I have them over here to the side. I didn't show that on my Mando. I just have that automatically set up. But if you want them over here on the side, you can. If you want them here on, say, like a secondary heal bar, you can do that too. That's up to you. But yeah, over here, this is interchangeable. That insta-cast heal for myself, like for my Mando. For this character here, I have it over here on my 0 key. Rejuvenate's kind of a nice insta-cast heal that also does a little healing over time for you. Okay, that plus Force Armor with the heal buff will make it so that you're pretty sturdy. You know, for the PvE content. I'm not talking the raiding content. I'm just talking for story mode content only. As you're doing these chapters from 60 to 65, that'll keep you pretty healthy and pretty stable. Okay, it doesn't cost very much force either, so it's very helpful. Last up, you have your Benevolence Channeled heal, which is a slightly bigger heal, also very situational. I wouldn't use it. Like I said, I use the stuff I use the most at the top and least at the bottom. Down here I have Revival. This sucker's awesome. This is your battle res, so you can be in combat and res up a companion if they're dead, or another player if you're in a flashpoint or instance. Have it somewhere, but have it. Okay, don't have that just in your powers menu and have to try to look for it and grab it. Have it somewhere you can cast it, guys. It's a great move. It's a great utility you bring. And no, you're not the healer. Most of the healers will take care of it if you're in a group of healer, in a group with a healer. But there are some times where your healer's knocked out. Your healer gets knocked out. Could be up to you. So now you have it. Now you know where it is. Now you know what it's called. Use it. It's one of your best utilities, okay, that you bring to a raid. It's the ability to DPS and sometimes heal yourself a little bit and possibly battle res another person. These three moves here, you don't really need to worry about too much. Cloud Mind is a threat dropper. It's mostly for raids. Force Slow, it's kind of a PvP thing. Saber Strike, you can even just take that right off the hotbar. You don't even need that in this spec. As a Sage in general, you're never running up to something in melee range and hitting it with your lightsaber. Don't. Just don't. You never need to do it, okay? You've got all these great moves over here. If you need to cast something instantly and at low cost, just cast Project or cast Telekinetic Gust, okay? Or there's also, what do they call it? They don't have it here on the hotbars. It is called for the Sage. Actually, it's general for Jedi Consular. It is called, no, when I see it, Telekinetic Throw. You can always just drop Telekinetic Throw on a hotbar and just use that. Okay. All right. Up here, very important. You do want this one, Force Empowerment. Force Empowerment is a raid-wide buff. It can buff up to all the players in your raid, or just you, if you're playing solo. It's on a 5-minute cooldown, which is kind of a long time. But while it's up, for 10 seconds, it increases, your mastery, your endurance, and your presence. Okay. Right below it, I have Heroic Moment. If you have a companion out, Heroic Moment is available to you, and these two in conjunction will basically devastate anything around you. So if you use it right, if you just pop it and do nothing, it does nothing for you. If you pop it, you're generally buffed. It's a great raid buff. They're going to expect somebody in the raid to use that if there's a Sage available. If you're just playing solo, doing something like the Eternal Championship where you're doing 10 rounds of action, popping this and say Heroic Moment will open up a whole bunch of moves that you've unlocked to use if you've unlocked other character classes, and if not, it'll just be healing you and buffing your damage. Over here I have Force Valor. That's my my buffs for my class. Also, too, since I've unlocked other characters, my other buffs are included in that. And then just Sprint. That's it, guys. Those are some of the basics. If you want to know, again, more about the rotations and how they work, please go ahead and check out some of the great DPS guides available for people out there. I highly recommend dolphy.net. There's some great guides there for 4.0 and up. And that's it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please click like, click subscribe, and then I put down a new player referral link on every one of my videos. If you ever want to just jump into the action, I believe it gives you about 7 free days of game time to try it out. Definitely give it a shot, man. If you ever want to play a Jedi, this is the way to go. So we will see you there, and we'll see you next time.